Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 22nd lesson. Just two more after this, which is both good and bad news. I know. Bad news for some of you because the course is over, but good news for others who are just tired of studying and want a break. They don't want to be hounded by gerunds, infinitives, first conditional. They don't want to dream about second conditional, or worse yet, have nightmares about it. So indeed, your holiday is nearly here. One more week. We need to really focus. I know we're tired, but this is where my job becomes the most critical. We have to make sure and right the ship, make sure we focus it so we can land safely at the harbor and yeah, move on to our next venture. Hopefully some of you will join me in the next course, but I know others just want a break, and I definitely understand that. All right, let's get started. Lesson 22. I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. Now, I learned how to make my picture bigger. Now, for some of you, that's not good news, but for me, it's good because I can at least see myself now. I think I'll make it this big. That's not so big. Now let's try a bit bigger. Can we do it bigger? Let's see. Okay, that's good enough. So let's get started. We're going to talk about quantifiers, how much, how many, a lot of, very interesting, so much, too many, these sorts of things. We're going to look at electronic devices, and boy, do we use these a lot. Some would say too much. My friend, he has 3 young children. It's really funny. He's in IT, he's in computers, he's in business. He owns lots of IT equipment, and he refuses to give his children any phones or gadgets. He's so afraid of the bad habits they could form. So he just bans them. They cannot have them. Now they're still young, so they're not putting up much of a fight. But if you're a teenager or higher, which all of us are, or older, then we deal with these a lot. So it's really important to know how we call them and name them and associate the right phrasal verbs with the appropriate IT device. All right, and then finally, ought and ow. We're going to do some, I think, very difficult pronunciation. I'm going to help you with it. I've done a little bit extra on this one with pronunciation. Let's see if it helps. You'll give me some feedback and let me know. So let's start with vocabulary and pronunciation. Now we are aided by the listening. We have here the listening, the audio files from the English file series. Now, one question I have here is how many of these do you use? So we've got, I don't need to go through them, you can see them all here. How many of these do you use on a daily or weekly basis? I used to use some of them more than I do now. So for example, the USB cable, I actually still use it when I plug my laptop into the big screen TV, which is right there. So I do use that. I use a remote control, a socket. You know what a socket is? You're going to find out. But a socket is that electrical device where you can plug something in to get power. And here's something you might plug in. Can you see that? I've plugged it into actually an extension, but we have chargers. That's a charger, actually. And then a lot of other things. Some of us use mouses. Some of us don't when we have laptops. I don't use a mouse. I don't keep animals in the house. That's why. Did you like my joke? Oh, great. All right. Let's continue. So you can have a little discussion with your speaking partner on first of all, what these mean, and then if you have them. I think most of these are going to be familiar with you because they're international English was the sort of leading language of IT development. So a lot of countries have just adopted these names and changed the spelling to suit and pronunciation to suit their own language. Now, I want to draw your attention to D, letter D, because D stands for definitely important. It does now. Definitely important. Now, here's why it's important. These phrasal verbs on the right-hand side are tricky. I would say difficult. D stands also for difficult because all of these different phrasal verbs, when you look at them all, you start to get confused. I would get confused. So I imagine you will or are confused, but just go over them a few times. You've got the listening file, the audio file to review. I would review it once or twice or 3 times or 4 times until you get it. These are very short audio files, and they're worth, honestly, these phrasal verbs are worth knowing, because if you mix up a phrasal verb, people might give you the wrong advice. It's quite important when you're dealing with electronics to give the proper command or question. Really important. You don't want to lose one of your devices because you misspoke. So you look at A. So you match the sentences with the phrasal verbs. Number 1, for example, I changed the heating from 20 degrees, that's how we say it, 20 degrees to 18. Or you can say from 20 to 18 degrees, or from 20 to 18. But if they don't know what that means, you might want to say 20 degrees to 18. All right. What did you do? You turned it down. You turned the heat down. So that's what we say at home. Could you please turn the heat down? Now, when I'm at my parents', I ask them to turn the heat up. It's so cold. Mom, do you think it's a bit cold in here? No, I'm fine, son. Put on some socks. Oh, there we go. That's the answer. The heat is not turned up. It remains the same. No one touches that thermostat. We call it a thermostat. No one touches that thermostat except my father. Hands off, son. I'll handle that. You know, you can dial it. There's a dial. You can do that. Some of you have those push buttons. You push up the arrow up or the arrow down. I don't know what we have because they've never let me close to it. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not very much. All right. What do you switch off? Look at A. We switched off. What do you switch off? You switch off the lights. All right. There's a metaphor for switch off. I just switched off. That means you just stop listening. Someone's just talking and talking and talking. Hopefully, you don't switch off on this lesson. Keep switched on, please. Keep focused. But if you switch off, you're tired, you're bored, you just want to focus on something else. So there was a lecture, but I sort of switched off and did something else. All right, so a lot of these have secondary meanings. They're not important now. You'll learn them in upper intermediate, next level, which I hope to see some of you on. All right, you've got these. Take this one seriously. And the reason I emphasize it is because it's so practical. These deal with everyday activities. And you're going to be required, if you speak in English, to know what these are. So it's worth spending extra time on letter D. And then you've got the listening files, listen and check. You can repeat 9/11. I'm going to supply all of these listening files, audio files. I won't do all of them on this lesson, but I will do these because they're really important. Now, I want to do an advanced point here. It's a little bit tricky, just difficult to remember for some of us, but I'm going to mention it. With phrasal verbs, you can switch the TV on, or you can switch on the TV. So when you're talking about a proper or definite noun, any sort of a noun, you can do it. But a pronoun, which is a type of noun, but a pronoun, it, he, she, they, something like that. You can't, it doesn't have the flexibility. So you switch it, the light, over there, switch it on. You can't say switch on it. So you say switch it on. But with a regular noun, you can have both sort of variations. All right. Let's move down. And here we've got great questions for the speaking session. So speaking partners, these, you will draw your attention to these, and during the next speaking classes, you'll have access or have an opportunity to discuss these questions. Now, listening and speaking, do you think I've highlighted A for you all to talk about, and this is a good question. I'm actually going to answer that one to begin with. Do you think you're addicted? Do I think I'm addicted to my phone? Well, this is a tricky question. Some people close to me might say yes. Because it's sort of my career, my job, I'm answering messages on Instagram. I tend to think it's part and parcel. That means something that I have to do as part of my job. I do try to put it down, though, very consciously, especially when I am writing. I'm writing every day, so I try to put 2 or 3 hours and just focus on writing. What about you? Are you addicted to your phone? How long can you go without checking it? Let's talk about that with a business partner. Taking a break. You're going to take a break. That's a word we use a lot, so I've highlighted it. Detoxing is basically, detox can be anything that's toxic. So you're getting away, you're separating from anything toxic. So relationships can be toxic, alcohol, obviously, or any sort of cigarette or something like that. So if you're detoxing, it's most commonly sort of understood with drugs and alcohol or cigarettes. But you can detox from anything that becomes unhealthy. You know, we have an expression in English, I'm in a toxic relationship. I hope that never happens with any of you. But if you're in a toxic relationship, you might, after that relationship, most people need to detox. They just need time to recover and get healthy. All right, here we're talking about digital detox. Remove the phone from your hand and just return to normality. Regain your sanity. Sanity is the opposite of going crazy. If you're sane, you're not crazy. If you're insane, you're crazy. You can either be crazy like, oh, he's just crazy, or medically crazy, which is more serious, obviously. Well, in general, it's more serious. You've got listening here. I really like the listening series, and I would like to hear from you all. How important, I'm going to ask for a survey at the end of the course, but here's one of the questions I'd like to know. How important have the listening files, audio files been in the listening section? How much has that contributed to your increase or your improvement in English? I'd like to hear an answer to that. So if you want to send me a message or write or speak, I'd prefer you speak. It's better practice for you all. I'd love to know. All right, so here's some, again, more discussion with the partners. So these are great opportunities to talk about these aspects, these subjects, with someone who's on the same course, and you can use the words and phrases that you're learning. All right, now, quantifiers. I'm actually going to skip over A and B because we've got a lot of audio files. I don't want to overwhelm you. Overwhelm you means, whoa, I can't deal with it. I don't want to overwhelm you, so we're going to go straight to the grammar bank. The grammar bank is on 149, and it's right here. Quantifiers. I think this is going to be very helpful. So focus, switch on your brain, switch off your phone and focus, unless you're watching it on your phone, and focus on this moment in the lesson. Here we go. I'm going to do the audio files for you. I'm going to read them. So large quantities. My daughter, and you can repeat after me if you want to improve your pronunciation. My daughter has a lot of apps on her phone. Notice how I said that. A lot of apps on her phone. Nina has lots of clothes. Not clothes, clothes. Close the door. She's got a lot of clothes. She's got lots of clothes. Next, I've been there loads of times. Now, I will tell you, loads is British. Americans never say this word. I've been there many times, a lot of times, a number of times, but Americans never say loads. The Brits do. All right. Now let's go through I want to go through the grammar part. Now, as I've said before, number 1 matches, number 2 matches a grammar explanation. Some of these don't require an explanation. So let's move on to number 2. James eats a lot. Now, we use lot when there is no noun. He talks a lot. Not he talks a lot of. He talks a lot. And a lot sort of functions as the object, even though it's sort of an adverb. How much does he talk? A lot. So it looks like a noun, but it actually functions. It actually, a lot, a is an article. So lot does function technically as a noun because you have to have a noun after an article, even either written or spoken or implied. So I prefer a green. I prefer the green jacket. So I didn't say jacket, but it's implied. You always have a noun after an article. All right, let's go to number 3. There aren't many cafes near here. Near here, they rhyme. Do you have many friends? Do you have many close friends? So here we say much and many are, I'm looking here at the grammar rules here. Much and many are normally used in negative and questions. Lots and lot of are in positive statements. Many and much are in negative or questions. So Nina has lots of clothes. We wouldn't normally say Nina has many clothes or much clothes. A lot of clothes is just a lot more natural. So here's a question. Do you have many friends? Do you watch much TV? You could say, do you watch a lot of TV? That's fine. It's not wrong. I don't eat much chocolate. I don't eat a lot of chocolate. Again, a lot of is not wrong, but much and more are normally used in the negative and with questions. But it's not wrong if you use a lot of. Just don't do it a lot of the time. All right. Don't run. We have plenty of time. Plenty, as you look below, is used with positive sentences. We have more than enough time. We have a lot of time. We have another expression. We have a lot of time to spare. Spare is extra time. S-P-A-R-E. You'll see it down below in the subtitles. All right, small quantities. Now, the most important thing here is little and few. Little, right here, look at the explanation right below. Little is with uncountable. We have few people in the room. We have few people in the room, or a few people in the room. You can do both. I'll explain the difference in a minute. We have a few people in the room, so you can count them. Not many, 1, 2, 3. We have a little water left. We have a little food left. We can't count food. We have a little food left in the party. We have a little food left at home. All right. Now, very little time and very little and very few equals not much and not many. I'm going to read these. So number 1A, do you want some more ice cream? Just a little bit. The only town has a few cinemas. Now, I'm going to give you one more word. It's sort of advanced, but if I would say the town only has, no, wait, there are few cinemas in town. Few without the article means too few, not enough. So with the article, it means just a few, just a couple. If you take out the article, it means not enough. Really interesting. It has a very different meaning. So, for example, I have a few friends means I have 3 or 4. But if I have few friends, no article. I have few friends. It means I don't have enough. So that letter A is really important. It changes the meaning completely. Number 3, I have less free time, and less is uncountable, fewer is countable. So I have less free time, I have less money. You can't count money. You can count bills of money, but you can't count the word money. I have fewer flights. You can count the number of flights you're taking or have taken. All right, you're going to answer those questions below in the exercises, but before we do that, we're going to look at much or less than you need or want. So I'm going to read these. I don't like the city. It's too big and it's too noisy. We use too with adjectives and adverbs. We use too much with countable nouns and with uncountable nouns. Much is uncountable. Many, you can count them. And too many with plural countable nouns. So here we go. Let's go through number 2. There's too much traffic. You can't count traffic, but you can count cars. So watch this. So there's too much traffic. And if you look to the next sentence, and too many cars. Too many cars equal too much traffic. All right. And too much noise. There are too many tourists. You can't count noise, but you can count tourists because they're people. Too much noise. I have too much time. Or too little time. Little is uncountable. All right. You can have too many tourists or too few tourists, not enough. You can also say we have few tourists this season. Few without the article, remember, it means not enough. Not enough to keep the business open. The buses aren't free. Now let's do number 3. There aren't enough parks and there aren't enough trees. We use enough before a noun and after an adjective. So here we go. The buses aren't frequent enough. Frequent is actually, well, in this case, frequent buses would be an adjective. So after the adjective is enough. The buses don't run frequently, adverb, enough. So enough follows the adverb and the adjective. And you can see here, or an adverb. And then we have zero quantity. We use any plus countable nouns, uncountable or plural nouns, excuse me. So, and often in the negative, there isn't any milk. We don't have any eggs. That's the plural noun, eggs. Milk is uncountable. We don't have any milk. You wouldn't say we don't have any phone because we can count phone. We don't have any phones, but you can't say phone. There's no milk. That's where we can use the countable. There's no phone. There aren't any phones, but there's no milk. There isn't any milk. All right, we have no eggs. So no is with uncountable and plural nouns with a positive verb. And then we use none in short sentences. And I know this is all very confusing. You might have to go through this a few times. Now, the reason I go through it is to force you to go through it once. But this is what I want to emphasize. We've just finished this. Let me just finish 3A. How many eggs do we have? None. None at all. I've used them all. Now, we've gone through all this. You're going to do the homework, and you'll probably miss some. Now, what I don't want you to think is, wow, I'm not very good in English, or this is too difficult for me. Let me explain. There are a lot of little rules in this exercise. No one is going to understand all of them on the first go. The first go is reading it through the first time. You might have to repeat it 2 or 3 times. It doesn't take long. You can do this, today, or then on Monday, and then Wednesday, just 5 minutes, review these rules, and then look again at the exercises. Of course, all the answers are below. But I don't want you to get discouraged. Honestly, this gets a bit complicated. All of these little rules, positive, negative, countable, uncountable, plural, nouns, singular, countable, singular, uncountable. This is really confusing. Negative, positive. I mean, I can understand why some of you get very negative about all these. It's okay. All right. Now you've got the homework below, and now let's move on. Pronunciation. I'm going to let you do this, but here's what I've done to help you, because I don't have many criticisms of this book. I'm going to give you one. These pictures are terrible. I have no idea what they are. Well, I now know, but for example, horse. Okay, I can see that's a horse. Up, I thought it was a triangle or an arrow. It's not obvious that it's up. Phone, okay, maybe phone. That's an old phone though, so I don't know if it's the handle or what. This, does that look like a car? Look at this. Does that look like a car? Maybe from the 1930s, but not today. That's a terrible depiction of a car. They need to do better. So I've written car, boot, fine, but shoe, you know, it could be a lot of different things. And then clock. I thought it was alarm because it's shaking like an alarm. So it's very misleading. So these are not well done. They need to change that. Just get rid of those pictures and just tell us what they are. So what they want you to do is focus on the vowel sounds. Or in horse, up, o, phone, in phone, r, in car, oo, in boot, and aw, in clock. Now, my pronunciation is slightly different from the British, the very traditional British accent, but these will be a little bit similar. So you've got practice there. Match these words, put them in the right columns before you listen to 9.19. Try to see if you can get those right. All right, we're going to skip the reading. We've got a lot to do. I've added it there, but that's it. You've got a lot of work. Enjoy the learning process. We've got one more week to go. See you soon. Bye-bye.